Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here. We're doing another Swiss Dragons of Tarkir Fate Reforged draft. We open our rare Pristine Skywise, which is pretty playable. My only gripe with it, not a major gripe, but a gripe, is that it's got 4 toughness, so it's actually pretty vulnerable to quite a bit of removal in the format. I guess the ones that immediately come to mind are like Bathe in Dragonfire and Pyrotechnics, but otherwise, I think it's like Youthful Scholar, which is like a safer pick, certainly. I think the big issue, unfortunately, with taking this Pristine Skywise is I'm passing a pretty big blue signal with the Palace Familiar and the Youthful Scholar, which I think are absolutely the next strongest cards in this pack. Ambuscade Shaman is certainly strong for like a dash deck. There's enough upside to this dragon where I'll take it. I'm not going to marry these colors, though. I could end up playing one of them and then splashing the other color, something like that. Okay. Best cards in this pack are... nothing too crazy. I mean, I like Tactician. I like Colossodon Yearling, Dragon, Shaman again. Yeah, a couple dragons. Silumgar Butcher is fine, not amazing. I think I'm looking at Anticipate versus like Aven Tactician, and I like Anticipate quite a bit. So I don't mind following up with that. I'm not really giving up anything too crazy. I could take the Shaman now, but the only thing that bugs me about that is pretty much completely diverges from a Pristine Skywise deck. I really can't imagine a deck where I'd be running Ambuscade Shaman and Pristine Skywise, and I'd rather run Pristine Skywise than Ambuscade Shaman. However you pronounce it, I don't know what it is. I assume it's supposed to be like Ambush, a reference to that. I'm going to take Anticipate because it's a 2-drop. I like taking the cheaper spells when possible. Alright, well now we have Deathwind as well as Gurmag Drowner. And Hand of Silumgar for that matter. But the real choice is Deathwind versus Gurmag Drowner. I think I gotta go Gurmag Drowner. It's a better follow-up pick to the Anticipate. It's certainly not stronger than Deathwind necessarily, but it's still very strong, and it cuts blue, and, you know, if I take the Deathwind at that point, what am I doing? I'm playing blue, black, splash, white, maybe. I'm at least directing towards that, or blue, white, splash, black for Deathwind. I think there's enough power level to Drowner, despite it not being a removal spell like Deathwind, where I just want to take it here and not look back. Okay, so options now are, well, let's look at the best cards in the pack, which I think are like pretty clearly Epic Confrontation and Seismic Rupture I like quite a bit, and Enduring Victory. And Lightwalker's good too, but I think I'm a little more interested in the Victory. Just get a removal spell. I could take the Epic Confrontation, perhaps. I do actually like green a lot. After that last draft, seeing that green can help you go into 3 and 4 color a lot easier might be a motivating reason to take Epic Confrontation, which, like I said, is a very strong removal spell. Enduring Victory is also a good removal spell, not as good as Epic Confrontation, but I'm going to take the Victory. If I see another good green pick, I think I'm just going to take it and start moving into, you know, a 3rd color perhaps. All right. 5th pick, Sarkhan's Rage is interesting. I think we probably want the Palace Familiar. There's also Dramoka Warrior, but Palace Familiar is going to work a lot better with other blue exploit creatures like Drowner. And I just like the Familiar anyway. And Familiar is a pretty good answer. Like, if your opponent plays Dramoka Warrior, playing a Palace Familiar is a pretty good answer to it. They at least have to use a combat trick to get, you know, past your Palace Familiar, and even then you're going to be gaining some card advantage there. So I think we just go Palace Familiar here over the Dramoka Warrior. Okay, so now we have Dragon Hunter, Sight Beyond Sight, Updraft Elemental, which isn't terribly exciting. I actually think Dragon Hunter's a pretty good card. I mean, there's plenty of dragons in this format, and I've seen this card multiple times be able to successfully lock down a dragon, which is, or beat down efficiently, both of which are pretty nice. Sight Beyond Sight is actually okay. I don't have any issues with Sight Beyond Sight, but I think Dragon Hunters, to me, is kind of a higher premium card than the... I think we'll likely be able to find other card draw effects, but I'm not convinced we'll necessarily be able to find other 1 or 2 drop beaters. Oh, okay. Mischief Kieran is quite good, so I think I'm pretty happily picking that up here. There's also Sidisi's Faithful, which I wouldn't mind having, but I certainly think Mischief Kieran is the correct pick here. Okay, so it looks like we finally miss. Oh, I guess we don't miss. We have Void Squall. It does appear green is open. Press the Advantage and Segmented Croteak this late are pretty good. I'm a pretty even split amongst blue and white right now, and none of the blue and white picks I have are bad. So I think I'm just going to take the Void Squall, despite the fact that it is a pretty clear sign, I would say, at this point that green's open. If I see something green, if I miss on a pack, I can start going into green as like my third color, I think, at this point. Like, for example, well, there is a Center Soul here, but I don't exactly need a Center Soul. Like, I don't mind taking a Scavenger here. I mean, Press the Advantage is clearly the best card, but... well, maybe I end up splashing white instead. All right, let's take the Press the Advantage. It's certainly the strongest card in here, like I said. All right, some more green wheeling. So I'm not the biggest fan of Territorial Rock, whereas I like Colossadon Yearling a lot. I think Herd Chaser Dragon's fine, but I'm actually going to take this Yearling, which I think is just better. All right, maybe we go for more of a green-white or a green-blue and splash the other color. I think I've seen a couple comments saying green-blue is totally unplayable, but I don't exactly agree with that notion. So let's take the Yearling here. I mean, it sort of feels like we're just being guided into green, which is fine. Okay. Well, there's Dromoka's Gift, but there's also a Lightwalker. Let's sort by color. So I think because green's more open, I'm going to take the Dromoka's Gift. Take the Pinion Feast. All right. So I can be green-blue or I can be green-white. The only reason I took the gift over the Lightwalker is because I'm not entirely convinced I'm 100% playing white yet. I mean, I feel like I want to play the Skywise and I want to play the Victory. And I probably want to play the Kieran. I don't have to splash for Dragon Hunter. The blue cards I have maybe are less good, so maybe green-white splash blue could be what I'm supposed to do. All I know is I'm supposed to be in green. That much is clear at this point. I kind of knew at the Epic Confrontation, but I also could have gotten away with probably just taking white and blue picks, but at this point with green this open, I don't see a reason to not continue down this path. I could probably take Pacifism here. Nothing else super close in power level, really. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything really close to Pacifism in this pack, so we'll take it. So perhaps green-white, splash blue. I think you can splash for Void Squall and you can splash for Pristine Skywise. The other ones are a little bit less splashable. Okay. I think I actually like Epic Confrontation more than Pacifism in this format. I think Pacifism's great, but I think Epic Confrontation is likely better. I mean, think about it. If an opponent casts Pacifism on one of my creatures, I can still use that creature to epically confrontate. So I think I'm going to take the Epic Confrontation here, even though a follow-up Pacifism pick would also be fine. Interesting. Okay, I can take Scion. I can take Sandcrafter Mage. I think I'd probably take the Mage over the Scion. Just because I like having the cheap spells a little bit more. I do think Scion's pretty decent though. And I do have some good ways to buy time with these Colossedon yearlings. Um, yeah, I mean, how's the curve looking? I could take a Scion here. I actually like Sandcrafter Mage quite a bit. I feel like high-end stuff is easier to find than low-end stuff for the most part. So I'm going to take the Mage. Give me some more early plays. I think I actually like how the deck's shaping up too, despite the fact that I kind of went off on blue a little bit early. Once we saw green was open, which I believe it still is. I mean, we gotta sort of hope someone else didn't go into it, but oh wow, myth realized. Yeah, I could do this. I haven't played this yet. Otherwise, Salt Road Quartermasters is pretty awesome card too. It's a 3-mana 3/3, already good, and on top of that, you can use it as like a combat trick. It's pretty awesome. I'm pretty low creature count though, which makes me kind of want this myth realized. Try it out at least. I'm gonna take the myth realized. You know, I haven't played it yet. I've played against it and I got destroyed by it. And it's just a rare, so I'm not going to be able to, you know, see it very often. Unfortunately, Quartermasters is a pretty good card to pass, but I'm going to take the myth realized. I'm interested enough in it. All right, I don't mind a Glade Watcher here. Not really that much else I care about. There's a Champion of Erishin, which is good with pump spells for sure, like Dramoka's Gift or something, but I think I'd rather have the Glade Watcher actually. All right, we can take Dramoka Monument here. There's also Artful Maneuver. Let me start cutting some blue, because I think blue is out at this point beyond the Pristine Skywise, which I guess I'm still comfortable splashing for. So what does Monument give me? It gives me a 4/4 flyer that also ramps. We do have a few 5-drops already. Artful Maneuver is a pretty nice combat trick, though. I've already got quite a few playables, although maybe even the Drowner and Void Squall are out at this point. I said I could splash for Void Squall, which is true, but I'm not sure I need to. I'm going to take the Monument here. I actually like Artful Maneuver too, but Monument gives me a kind of something I like, which is another win con that also gets me to my 5-drops and fixes a little bit too. I like the Dramoka Warrior more than the Conifer Strider, although I do actually like a good Conifer Strider. Pairs better with Glade Watcher, but Dramoka Warrior's tough for me to pass just because I think it's such a excellent, you know, high pressure card. Okay, now it's Dragon Scarred Bear versus Stampeding Elk Herd versus Tactician. Usually I end up cutting Tactician, which is odd because, I mean, it's certainly a good card. But I think I actually want the Bear here. Once again, keeping my curve lower and finding the 5 and 6 drops, I think is easier later. Even in Fate Reforged, like finding Feral Crew Shock or something should be fine. Whereas taking Dragon Scarred Bear, I think is just, I don't know. I like it. I like Dragon Scarred Bear quite a bit. It's a good card. So now it's Servant versus Shield Bearer. I think Shield Bearer is probably a more playable card most of the time. I have played Servant and I actually think it's a fine card, even especially with like a Dramoka's Gift. But let's take the Shield Bearer. I think I would prefer that still. All right, Tread Upon is a pretty nice combat trick. This looks like a deck that could very much want that. All right, I can take Glaring Aegis. We're actually a little bit short in the removal department right now, so we pretty much just got an Epic Confrontation and a Pacifism. Oh, I guess we have Enduring Victory too. So I'll take the Glaring Aegis. It's not exactly a removal spell, I guess, but I think this could be a deck that maybe wants it. I don't really think I'm likely to want a Custodian in this deck. Doesn't really strike me as a deck that wants it, but I don't really want Ojutai's Breath either. So maybe I take the Custodian, I guess. I'll take a negate here. Sure. Okay, so I kind of like where we're at. It's going to be difficult to splash for Pristine Skywise without any sort of means of fixing, so I guess if I find some lands out of this Fate Reforged pack, I think I'll likely make the Pristine Skywise work. Like, I guess Crucible of the Spirit Dragon technically does fix for it, but that's not exactly the one I was hoping for. I think we're pretty easily just taking Beastmaster. We already have 2 Yearlings, which are going to pair really well with it. And it's green card advantage, which is highly unusual. So I think we just got to take a Beastmaster here pretty happily. All right, there is a Tranquil Cove. That is the fixing we were looking for. And luckily for us, we're not really giving up anything I care about. So I'm still willing to splash for Pristine Skywise with the help of a Tranquil Cove, or hopefully another land or two wouldn't hurt, certainly. Like Inoc Guide, I guess, could do it. Cloudform is pretty good. I think we actually want the Outcast, though. More likely to table the Inoc Guide or the Map the Waste. And Outcast is just one of those cards. Just a really high impact. It's not even high impact. You know what it is? It's just good value. Any way you slice it, Sandstep Outcast is just one of those cards that's really nice value. You're always happy to have it in your deck. Really nice with the press the advantage too. So oddly enough, we've got a low creature count at the moment. But I guess Myth Realized maybe is kind of a creature. Okay, we can take Whisper as a ramp spell. Problem with Whisper in this deck is I don't have a ton of ways to get Ferocious online, and I don't have a lot of 4-drops to ramp into starting on turn 2. You know what I mean? So that's, I guess, my main issue. And it doesn't benefit my Ferocious or Formidable at all. But otherwise, I mean, there's not really any other options I care about in this pack, so I guess we do take Whisper. I'm still hoping to see an expensive card to ramp into. Here's our Feral Crew Shock we were looking for. So I think we're actually slamming that here. I did want to find some good late game stuff, and I think Feral Crew Shock's a very good one for that. I definitely think this is a 17 land deck, just based on our curve alone and the fact that we already have a monument. Maybe the Glaring Aegis is a little bit less attractive. I actually thought it was fine in this deck, and it is, but let's just upgrade and get some more creatures in here. Currently, I like where we're at. Not a high removal deck, but certainly a good amount of combat tricks. And we have enough removal to get by. A second Whisper. If I play a second Whisper, at that point I'm likely to just play 16 lands. 16 lands, 2 Whispers, and a Dromoka Monument is like more than enough. Otherwise, I take a Pressure Point, which is fine. Not exciting. There's a Goblin Boom Keg, which I think is one of those cards that's pretty underrated. And I'll admit, I'd be the first to admit I've underrated it quite a bit. It's not that bad of a spell. You do get to nuke for 3. It just takes an extra turn. Fits the curve relatively nicely, but I think we're just taking Whisper number 2. And at this point, like I said, I'm much more willing to run, wow, second Outcast it is. I'm much more willing to run 16 lands if we've got a curve that's, I would say, on the low side. Yeah, our curve is very much on the low side. I'm going to take the Outcast over the Inoc Guide. Even though the Inoc Guide would help with the Pristine Skywise plan, I'm just going to take the Outcast. All right, well, this is just weird now. I'm much more tempted to play green-white Beatdown and maybe just ditch the Whisper plan in general and the Pristine Skywise plan. Like, I can take Inoc Guide here and continue to fix for Skywise, but I could also cut Whisperers take a Woe Reaper, and just have a pretty solid looking green-white beatdown plan. I'm starting to get much more tempted to do that. Possibly not. Yeah, probably not main deck Skywise. I'm okay main decking Pinion Feast. We passed quite a few good flyers. I think there's a pretty good chance I could find at least one target for it. And I mean, this looks like a pretty solid little shell here too. Yeah, I don't mind the way this looks. Colossadon Yearling's not the best beatdown card, but certainly an acceptable one. I think it's pretty easy Sky Captain here. And I'd prefer to not run 16 lands without the Whisperers. I do think this isn't a Whisperer deck. I mean, you could argue that ramp is always good, but I would argue this is not the deck for it. Maybe I'm a little less inclined to main deck Pinion Feast. I'm okay. You know, I'm always okay with it, but we probably have enough removal where I don't mind sideboarding into it. I'm going to take Return to the Earth here, which is also a good sideboard card. And some people would argue main deckable. I'm going to take the second Sky Captain here, once again over the INOC guide. And I think I'm likely to play it. I just don't know for what yet. Probably the Shield Bearer can get the axe. I actually don't think Shield Bearer is that great. But then again, it's one of those cards that doubles as like a Goblin Piker. Well, regardless, let's take the Sky Captain. I could take a Skirmisher. It is kind of a beatdown card. It's not exactly... I don't think it's going to make the deck, though. So let's hate the best card in here, which is probably the Ambush against us, maybe. All right, Grim Contest. Someone might want that. Whatever. Okay, so started white-blue, turned into green-white, which I'm still okay with. I wish I had like an overrun effect of some sort to really give me some more rewards for these outcasts, but that's okay. Trying to think of strengths and weaknesses of this deck. Well, the strengths are I've got a relatively good beatdown plan with a pretty good amount of combat tricks. And I'm almost debating bringing back Glaring Aegis now. Just because I'm a little bit removal light. If we separate stuff out, I've got... This is kind of a creature. Sort of. Pacifism, Epic Confrontation, and Enduring Victory as hard removal. And Tread Upon, Press the Advantage, and Dramoka's Gift as combat tricks. That's certainly acceptable. I could cut the Dramoka Monument. I really don't need the ramp. And this pretty much the sole reason I'm playing it is because it can turn into a dragon. It doesn't strike me that I'll need a Dramoka Monument in this deck, I guess. And I'd rather run my Shield Bearer just because it's like a 2-drop creature. Because I do kind of want to put some pressure on my opponent when at all possible. Maybe a minor issue with Colossadon Yearling not being that good of a beater, but a 2/4 body for 3 is pretty nice regardless. So it's good defensively until I, build up enough of a board or build some card advantage with Beastmaster, get some skies. So yeah, I think this deck's okay. I think I didn't end up with enough 5 and 6 drops that I kind of expected to. Like I said, it's usually more difficult to find the cheap spells than it is to find the expensive spells. I still could play the Skywise, but I don't really see the need to splash for it. I guess with Tranquil Cove, it's not that bad. 2 sources for 1 spell. I mean, it's a pretty high impact 6-drop. I play a Tranquil Cove in 1 island. But what do I cut for it? Because I'm certainly not going to do 16 lands in that. I mean, maybe this deck really does want a Pristine Skywise. It seems like an easy enough splash. And the nice thing is I can kind of get, if I can get a little bit more into blue later for sideboarding if I want to cast Negate or something. So then the question is, what do I cut for the Pristine Skywise? I'm still thinking the weakest card in our deck is the Shield Bearer. So the question is, am I okay cutting a Shield Bearer? I guess I am. All right, I convinced myself. Maybe, you know, maybe I'd kick myself if I didn't play the Skywise. Maybe playing the Skywise is going to cost me, but I think there's a good enough chance that with a Tranquil Cove and an island, I can make this Skywise work fairly well in my deck. And my lack of like in-game plan, that having the Skywise could actually be pretty helpful. I mean, 6 power, 6 mana, 6 power flying with more abilities is pretty nice. We're a little bit light on stuff for Myth Realized, I guess. We only have 6 spells that trigger it. But you can still put lore counters on it, I guess, which is good. Maybe the Myth Realized is the bad card out of this, but it's one of those cards where if you're flooded, you're going to be pretty happy you've got a nice mana sink. But would I rather play the Shield Bearer to stay more consistently beat down? Sort of. Yeah, so I guess my main issue with Myth Realized in this deck is I really don't have that many things that trigger it. But I do want to give the card a try. And like I said, if you're flooded, it's a pretty good mana sink. I'll give it a try. I'm going to see what I think of it. I don't think this is the ideal deck for it. I think it much more, it shines in a blue-white deck. But I'll give it a try anyway. And once again, I don't think this is a Whisper of the Wild deck. My curve is too low to get a lot of benefit out of that. So, yeah. All right. Let's put our Tranquil Cove in. Let's get one more island. And so what is this? 9 white and 7 green. I think we probably want to do 8 and 8. Looks like a pretty even split. So 8 white, 8 green, 2 blue. I think this deck's okay. It's not the best deck I've ever drafted by any means, but I certainly think it can win a draft for sure. So, I guess this is the best setup we're gonna get out of this. We'll have to see how we do. I'll see you round 1.